Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Could I please have Pastor Dean Nelson from St. John's Lutheran Church come forward for the opening prayer?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, have mercy on us. We give you thanks, Heavenly Father, for the civil society that we live in, where so many people are willing to work for and protect and care for others, where most people are honest and good citizens of this civil society. Grant your guidance and blessing for our council members. We thank you for those who willingly and faithfully serve our community. Give guidance and courage to our police and firemen, and for all who protect the peace of our community. We give you thanks for all who labor in commerce and industry to provide goods and services for others. Have mercy upon us and preserve our community from floods and droughts, from crime and fire. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. I'd like to call to order the June 17th meeting of the City Council. Chief, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Or Commander Reyna, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Let's go on to item 3, roll call.
Faria? Here. Lewis. Silvera? Present. Stonegrove? Here. Volta?
Here. Item 4, consideration of approval of agenda. Do I have a motion? Mr. Silvera.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Anybody?
Ms. Stonegrove?
Second.
Motion by Silvera, second by Stonegrove to approve the agenda as written. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None carried. Okay. Let's go on to item 4, presentation. Certificate of Appreciation for Joe and Bobby Castaneda. And I think Bobby is here this evening. If you could come up. Well, this is the second award that we've presented, or about to present this evening, and it's to your husband, Joe, and this is Bobby Castaneda, and they live on K Street. I'm not going to give you the exact address, but their house was a house that was in transition. When I was a young man, it was a real show place, and the lawn was immaculately kept, and then, like so many of our homes, they went through a transition period where it had multiple owners. And then the Castanedas purchased this home and then turned it back into the glory that it once was from many years ago. So I just want to thank you personally for doing that. And for us to highlight these homes and to see that people are being very responsible about the upkeep of and the landscaping, and to make sure that the front of their homes look very presentable. And this one is absolutely stunning, and I just can't thank you enough, and please thank your husband for me for what you've done. Okay, so with that, I would like to present the certificate of recognition presented to Joe and Bobby Castaneda in appreciation of your efforts to improve the landscaping and beautification of your home. Thank you so much. And I would ask the public that if you know of a home that was in transition and now, or it doesn't even have to be in transition, someone who's doing drought-tolerant landscaping, someone who is who is being very conscious about how the appearance of their home and has maintained it for many years that way, please bring the name to the city, and one of the receptionists or someone in either department, building or the water department, will gladly take the name, so we can then go out and look and possibly present a certificate of appreciation to that individual also. So this is the fun part of being mayor, to give away these things, and they're well deserved. And Bobby, thank you so much for what you've done. Okay, let's go on to public forum. Members of the public may address the city council members on any item of public interest that is within the jurisdiction of the city council, which includes agenda and non-agenda items. No action will be taken on non-agenda items. Speakers are limited to a 5-minute presentation, and detailed guidelines are posted on the council chamber informational table. And at this time, would you please silence your cell phones or turn them off? Okay, is there anyone who would like to speak at the public forum? Please come forward. Good evening.
Hello. Bertha Faria, Los Banos Chamber of Commerce and Los Banos resident. The Chamber has, since our last visit, welcomed 2 new businesses to our membership. The first actually is our James V. Pernetti American Legion Women's Auxiliary number 166 and the Home Depot. Some upcoming events for this week. Los Banos Elks Lodge are holding a salad bar and fashion luncheon tomorrow beginning at noon. Tickets can be purchased from Cookie or DJ for $15. And the Los Banos Arts Council will be holding a wet canvas wine and painting with Kelly tomorrow evening at 7. And then beginning on Friday and running through the weekend, the Arts Council and the Valkyrie Theater present Los Banos Review Show. Tickets are $10 for this, or $5 for seniors and students. And then don't forget, on Saturday, the Los Banos Chamber will hold our 2nd annual Father's Day in the park. The Los Banos Lions Club will offer breakfast from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. in the Recreation Hall, and our vendors and the car show will open at 9 a.m. We have entertainment beginning at 11 with Shay Gomes, at noon with Fur Drive, and then taking the stage at 1 will be Tom Faria, Debbie Losato, and friends, who will pay tribute to the women of rock. Grab your lawn chair and dad and enjoy the afternoon with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at the public forum?
Resident of Los Banos, employee for public services. Good evening, Your Honorable Mayor, City Manager, council members, City Attorney. Always get left out. Commander Reyna. We have a lot of history. So, recently I had a bunch of questions regarding disposal of paint, and I wanted to address them tonight. Let's start off with latex water-based paints. If you're using latex water-based paint, you can wash your paint brushes directly in your kitchen or bathroom sink. You shouldn't rinse your brushes in the street. Remember, storm drains flow directly and without treatment into local waterways. If you use oil-based paints, clean up properly. Read the label and follow the manufacturer's instructions for proper disposal. Check with your local recycling or household hazardous waste coordinator, myself, Eric Lamone, regarding acceptable practices in your community for the disposal of dried latex paint. Empty containers may be thrown in the trash. A container that is considered empty if no paint can be removed with a brush or by holding it upside down. Latex paint manufactured before August 1990 may also contain lead as well. Although the Consumer Product Safety Commission banned the use of lead in consumer paints in 1978, older homes, especially those built prior to 1978, may have lead-based paint on interior surfaces. According to the U.S. EPA, lead-based paint, dust, and chips are dangerous if swallowed or inhaled, especially to small children and pregnant women. For more information about lead-based paints or a list of businesses that can test homes to determine if a home has surfaces painted with lead, contact the National Lead Information Clearinghouse at 800-424-LEAD. Proper paint disposal depends on the type of paint. Water-based paint disposal, latex paints are the least harmful. If you cannot donate or share these paints, dry the paint or mix it in kitty litter. Paint manufactured before 1992 may contain mercury. If you think you may have paint manufactured before 1992, contact the manufacturer or EPA to find out about proper disposal methods. Oil-based paint disposal. These paints contain lacquer, enamel, varnish, and shellac. Shellac sounds like a funny word. Never throw oil-based paints in the garbage or on the ground, or in the dump them down the storm drain. They are considered household hazardous waste, or HHW, and should be taken to a HHW collection facility or event. Aerosol paint disposal. Aerosol paints are made with propellants and solvents. They should be taken to HHW collection facility or an event. Artist or hobby paint disposal. Paints for art may contain solvents or heavy metals and should also be disposed at a government-sponsored HHW event or facility. Be sure to store any type of paint in its original container according to product instructions. Keep paints, paint thinners, and solvents away from sources of heats or flames and out of reach of children and pets, and use with care. Look for more information from the EPA or on proper paint disposal methods, or you can contact me at Eric Lamone, Republic Services, 409 Mercy Springs Road, 826-0231. Thank you.
Thank you. Pouring latex paint down the drain might cost your plumber, might cost you a lot of, yeah. That stuff clogs real well. It's like concrete. Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at the public forum? Not seeing or hearing anyone, I will now close the public forum and go on to item 7, consideration of approval of consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and we voted on in one motion unless removed from the consent agenda by a city council member. And tonight we have...
Items on the consent agenda are as follows. Warrant numbers 153606 through 153821 in the amount of $1,204,759.33. City Council meeting minutes for April 15th, 2015, May 6th, 2015, May 20th, 2015, June 3rd, 2015, and June 10th, 2015. Measure P Oversight Committee Report. City Council Resolution Number 5664, adopting a revised budget for the 2014-2015 fiscal year as it pertains to expenditures and revenues in the Police Department. City Council Resolution Number 5665, approving an amendment to Division 1 General, Division 2 City Organization, Division 5 Benefits, Division 5B Sick Leave Policy of the city's Policy and Procedures Manual. And those are the items to be approved as submitted.
Okay, is there any city council member who wishes to remove an item for discussion? Mrs. Lewis?
No, Mr. Mayor, I don't wish to remove an item, but if no other council member wishes to remove an item, I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda as read.
Okay. Anyone else? Mrs. Lewis? Oh, you have a question?
I was going to second it.
Oh.
I made the motion.
Okay, all right. All right, it's been motioned by Mrs. I just want to see if anyone else had a question. Okay, it's been motioned by Mrs. Lewis and second by Mr. Silvera to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? None carried. All right, let's go on to item 8, public hearing. If you challenge the proposed action as described herein in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing described herein or in written correspondence delivered to the city at or prior to the public hearing. Item 8A, public hearing, to receive public comment and consider adoption of the new update of the mobile vendor ordinance located in Title 9, Chapter 3, Article 36 of the Los Banos Municipal Code. Ordinance number 1130, amending Article 36, Chapter 3 to Title 9 of the Los Banos Municipal Code relating to mobile food vending. And we will go to Assistant Planner Elms.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So tonight, staff is asking that the City Council continue the public hearing to July 1st, 2015, to allow the Community and Economic Development Department more time to provide research on additional questions that have come up in the meantime. So with that, we'd like to open the public hearing and then continue it to July 1st.
Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, Mrs. Stonegrove.
I just have a question because I want to be sensitive again to the vendors that were here at our last meeting. If we, on July 1st, consider the item and make a decision, then is it a 30-day? I can't remember, before the ordinance goes into to effect for those vendors.
Yep, got it.
So if approved on July 1st, that would be the first reading, and then the second reading would only be August 5th, because we will not be having a July 15th meeting. And then it would be 30 days from August 5th that the ordinance would be implemented. So essentially, it would be September 5th that the new ordinance would be implemented.
Okay. And the vendors, do they know that?
A gentleman was here tonight that I was able to explain that too, and I have had phone conversations with a couple of others who've checked with me to see if they should be attending tonight, because they wanted to speak on the item.
Yeah, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions from council? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak on ordinance number 1130 as read by title? Not seeing or hearing anyone, I will now close the public hearing, bring it back to council level, and I need a motion, please, to continue to July 1st. Mr. Freya.
I would move to continue item A1, ordinance number 1130, amending Article 36, Chapter 3, Title 9 of the Los Banos Municipal Code relating to mobile food vending to the July 1st, 2015 meeting.
Do I have a second? Mr. Silvera.
I'll second.
Motion by Faria, second by Silvera, to delay the item ordinance number 1130 till July 1st. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None carried. Let's go on to item B, public hearing. To receive public comment regarding the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG. And we'll go to Commander Reyna. Come up.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Hope you're all well. This year, the department will be applying for the fiscal year 2015-2016 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. We more commonly refer to it as a JAG grant. As a requirement of the grant, we are required to notify the local governing body and to provide public notice. We've applied for this grant every year. Every year we receive it. We refer to it as an equipment grant. It's also important to note that there's no matching of funds as a requirement for this grant. The allocation list indicates that the maximum we may receive this year is $10,323. In the years past, we've used it to purchase radios, bulletproof vests, just general equipment that we use in our duties. This year, we hope to use the grant to purchase equipment related to anti-auto theft devices, patrol rifles, vehicle pursuit tire deflation devices, patrol medical kit supplies, and a computer radio system for our mobile command trailer. That's all I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Mr. Silvera.
I got a question for you. Let me get to my place here. So, vehicle pursuit tire deflation devices, just is a fancy word of saying spike strips?
Yeah, there's several companies out there. We're actually looking at one in particular. It has the majority of the market in the law enforcement world. It's pretty effective. So we've never been able to purchase these devices before, so we're pretty excited about looking into them.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Commander Reyna? Seeing none, do I have a motion? I'm sorry, these are all public hearings. All right, is there anyone who would like to comment on item B as read, the JAG grant? Okay, I will now close the public hearing, bring it back to council level. Do I have a motion? Oh, no action? Oh, God, I'm sorry. Okay, let's go on to, to receive public comment. Okay, close public hearing, no action carried, opportunity public comment. All right, let's go on to item C. And that is public hearing to receive public comment and consideration of the appropriations limit for the 2015-2016 fiscal year. And we will go to Finance Director Williams.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Each year, the City Council establishes by resolution its appropriations limit pursuant to Article 13B of the California Constitution. Annual limits or ceilings are placed on the appropriations of tax proceeds that can be made by the city in any given fiscal year. This year, the appropriation limit is $72,893,471. Currently, the city is under the limit by approximately $60.9 million, so there will be no impact on the appropriations limit, and tonight staff is asking to conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution approving the amended appropriations limit for 2015-16 fiscal year.
Okay. Before I open a public hearing, are there any comments by council members? Okay. I would now like to open a public hearing on City Council Resolution number 5666, setting the tax-related appropriation limit in compliance with Proposition 4 and Proposition 111 for the 2015-2016 year. Is there anyone who would like to comment on item 8C, Resolution 5666? Not seeing or hearing anyone, I will now close the public hearing and bring it back to council level and adopt the resolution as submitted. And do I have Mrs. Stonegrove?
I move to adopt City Council Resolution number 5666, setting the tax-related appropriation limit in compliance with Proposition 4 and Proposition 111 for the 2015-2016 fiscal year.
Okay, Mr. Silvera.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned by Stonegrove, second by Silvera, to approve City Council Resolution number 5666 as read by title. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? None carried. Let's go on to item 8D, public hearing, to receive public comment and consideration of the 2015-2016 fiscal year budget. Item D1, City Council Resolution number 5667, adopting a 2015-2016 year budget, including employee salary schedule, Division 4 of the Los Banos Policy and Procedures Manual. And let's go back to Mr. Williams.
Come to me.
Oh, come to you first? Yep. Your button's not on. Here we go.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a little bit of a statement to read. I read it at the budget workshop, and I think it really kind of frames how we put the budget together and how we got here. So it's a couple of pages long, so if you can just bear with me. One of the most important tasks that I have as a city manager is to deliver a budget for your review and adoption. And I'd like to take a few minutes to describe what goes into preparing a budget. First, the budget process is a year-round process, not something that gets put together over the course of a few weeks or months. The finance director, her staff, and I talk every day about the budget. We discuss trends, sales tax, expenses, revenues, and projections. As a city manager, when we're having these conversations, I'm trying to get a feel for what Los Banos will look like 3 years from now. And I'm trying to figure out how each of the next 3 budgets will get us there. Along the way, as an organization that provides services, we need to budget for many things like police and fire services, parks and recreation programs, equipment replacement, resurfacing of roads, the hiring and training of employees, and we need to pay for the retirements of employees that have worked for us. There are literally hundreds of different items to consider when assembling a budget. Many people are involved when putting a budget together. First, we need to consider the needs of our bosses, the 37,000 residents of Los Banos. Are we listening to the people of Los Banos? What services and programs do they want and need? Are any of the current services or programs obsolete? Do we need to add any? Can we afford them, and are they sustainable? We also consider what's important to the mayor and the city council members as they were elected to represent the people. We get the majority of our input about the budget from the various city departments who have the responsibility of keeping things running smoothly and efficiently. Finally, we are keenly aware of our city employees and what they do for the city of Los Banos. I do my best to meet and listen to as many employees as I can, and I believe today that I have a good feel for what's important to them. There are some variables can affect the budget very quickly, and we have absolutely no control over them. And I'd like to talk about 4 of them: the economy, the drought, housing, and crime.
The economy. While we're coming out of the worst economy of our lifetime, we still have to prepare for the worst, a step backward. We don't know if the economy is going to continue to grow, slow, or falter. It appears, it appears that the world is getting better, but we won't know until we get more measurable data, which could be another 2 years or so from now. The drought. We're in the 4th year of the drought. Much has been said about the drought, but I want to remind everyone that when farmers don't have water, they don't plant crops. And when they don't plant crops, they don't hire workers to maintain or harvest their crops. This is a huge problem for us because these workers spend money in our community, and when they aren't working, they aren't spending as freely. And when they aren't spending as freely, we don't see that resulting sales tax revenue. Housing. Last year, we funneled a total of 7 homes in Los Banos, and over the past 6 months, I can report that we've issued 80 housing permits. Because of these figures, low mortgage rates, and because construction has started on the new junior high school and new courthouse, I'm feeling much more confident about the summer and fall construction seasons. In September, Stacy Souza Elms will be giving a presentation to the City Council on Economic Development, and she'll be able to let us know exactly how many homes were built during the summer. In September, we'll also have a better estimation for how many homes might be built in the fall and winter. And why is this important? Housing and the construction-related jobs will lead us out of this difficult economy and into better times. People in Los Banos might hear this presentation and wonder if we'll be going on a building spree, and the answer is no. Our intention is steady growth, not rampant growth, and steady growth will lead us to additional retail, which will bring more sales tax revenue to the city. And finally, crime. I can factually prove to you that Part 1 crimes are down 24% over the past 2 years. And I can state facts all day long, but if you've been victimized by a crime, then you can care less if I stated crime was down 50% or even 100%. Each of us has been either victimized by a crime or we know someone that has. Recently, there was a drive-by shooting at the home next to a council member's house. A second council member's home was burglarized and their car was also stolen. A third council member consistently tells me stories about reckless driving and speeding on their street. The city attorney's place of business has been vandalized and my neighbor has been stalked. This is all totally unacceptable. Crime has touched all of us in one form or another, and we need to get control of the problem, and it's going to be expensive. The 2015-16 budget that we're presenting to you tonight may appear to favor the police department. If we truly want to live in a safe community, then we need to dedicate the necessary resources to accomplish the job. It also means we're not going to be spending funds on extras like subsidizing a farmer's market or funding a 4th of July fireworks celebration, or being members of civic organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, or giving the community center away to event organizers for free. This year's budget includes moving 2 of the remaining 5 Measure K employees to the general fund on July 1st. This budget also has something for each department, but we focused more intently on the police department this year. And why? First, people want to live in a safe, well-managed community. Second, if we want to continue to be a safe community, then we need to invest in that commitment. And this means we need to provide our officers with the facilities and equipment that they need. Third, the police department does more than just arrest criminals. And it's important to note that they operate the jail, dispatch, code enforcement, and animal control. Finally, we've experienced a retention problem with our officers over the past few years, and we need to prove to them that we appreciate their efforts by putting our money where our mouth is. After 2 years on the job as city manager, I can clearly state that I'm very proud of the job that our police chief, the commanders, the sergeants, the officers, administration, dispatchers, animal control, and code enforcement are doing to protect us. This year we have a healthy fund balance, which is essentially our savings account. Property taxes went up 11%, but we can't put a budget together expecting property taxes to go up 11% each year. The question that I've been asked is, when do we have enough money in our fund balance, or when is enough enough? And the answer is when we have a steady revenue source, not revenue sources that are considered one-time monies or revenue spikes. It's also staff's intention to create a 5-year capital facilities plan which would be used to forecast the future needs for capital facilities. The plan would detail what public facilities are needed, where they will be provided, when projects will occur, and how they will be financed. Past financial restraints have not allowed the city to adequately plan and save for our infrastructure needs. This 5-year plan is very important because while this year's budget is weighted towards the police department, each of the other departments, including fire and public works, need to know when their projects will be funded and when they will come to fruition. In summary, there are a lot of people and a lot of factors that are involved in the preparation of the budget, and there's nothing easy about the process. In the end, there will be people that will be disappointed. There will be critics and Monday morning quarterbacks that will wonder why we chose to fund one department over another or one project over another. I can only tell you that we took all the information that was available to us, we processed it, and we developed the budget that is before you tonight. This budget sends a loud message to the residents of Los Banos and to the criminal element that we are supporting the police department in their efforts to keep us safe. Addressing crime is this year's #1 budget priority, and I believe this budget does just that. And with that, I will pass the ball to Sonia Williams, our Finance Director. She can walk us through her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, tonight I would like to present a brief summary of the information provided at the budget workshop. The budget presented to you this evening represents an overall attitude of restoration while remaining fiscally responsible. The total budget is $41.1 million, an increase of $6 million from the previous year. The general fund budget is $12.1 million, an increase of $1.2 million from the previous year. The steps we are taking to restore the budget have not changed our priorities, which include moving the 3 remaining employees from Measure K back into the general fund, completing negotiations with the 4 bargaining groups. We are also beginning to fund previously unfunded positions, including 1 in the streets department. We have a total of 5 unfunded positions remaining on the books. And then finally, as Steve mentioned, completing a 5-year capital facilities plan, hopefully by the end of the calendar year. As mentioned at the budget workshop, the expiration of the triple flip is the reason you see such inconsistencies in the sales tax and in lieu budget numbers this year. This is because the triple flip has begun to unwind. The triple flip reimbursements are 1 quarter behind, so in August of 2016, we'll receive the final catch-up payment. As you can see, the sales tax we're bringing in is, or estimated to bring in for the next year is $3.7 million, and only $117,000 in the property in lieu, and so the difference there, we should get our catch-up payment about August of next year. Although property taxes increased by 11% in fiscal year 2014, the increase was primarily based on the property that did not change ownership. Whatever was such much lower values originally, and whose values then were reassessed at or near full market value. That being said, we do not expect to see the same increase in the next fiscal year. We have estimated a 2% increase in property taxes, which results in property tax in lieu of VLF as well. And then finally, the property tax reimbursement, that was a miscalculation by the county. We were reimbursed in 2 estimates. We got the final payment in 2014-15, therefore we're not expecting any money from that in the next fiscal year. Continuing with revenues, other taxes include transient occupancy tax, which is 10% of the hotel lodging fee, and documentary stamps, which is basically transfer of property or property sales. We're expecting a slight increase in those taxes as well. Licenses and permits are 3% of the revenue generated and include such items as business licenses at $150,000 per year and building permits at $200,000 per year. We do anticipate collecting over $350,000 in 2014 for building permits. However, the city remains conservative in this year's budgeting because the market is still unsteady and the effect of the drought remains unpredictable. So we didn't estimate it as high as we have received in this year. Charges for services is 12% of the budget and includes such items as franchise fees at $468,000 annually and building plan check fees at $150,000. The decrease in other revenues is mainly due to firefighting reimbursement. We've talked about this before. We do not anticipate that will be called out to strike teams, so we are extremely conservative when budgeting. We did collect $142,000 this year as reimbursements, but we are only estimating to collect $10,000. If we see any difference, it'll be adjusted at mid-year. Revenues are estimated to be $12,452,974, a decrease of $466,000 over last fiscal year. And again, these decreases result in such things as the triple flip unwind, the final payment and the property tax admin fee, and conservative budgeting with planning, building, and fire street team. So does anybody have any questions regarding revenues? Okay. Moving on to general fund expenditures. Oh, I'm sorry.
Who has a question? Deborah? Okay, go ahead.
I just want to make sure that the license and permits, that only pertains to our building department?
In this instance, the licenses and permits actually include the business licenses as well. There's different types of licenses and permits that goes in there. License for businesses is under finance.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before we go on? Okay.
Okay. The main contributors to the increase in expenditures overall that affect every department is a 2% equity adjustment for all applicable miscellaneous employees and department heads. Health insurance increase of 10% for 6 months. And then pooled property insurance overall increase of 1% and a general fund increase between 19 and 71% depending on the department. There were really no big changes in admin other than the ones just mentioned. Community development or community and economic development includes $50,000 for studies related to the industrial park, but this again was money previously assigned from the dissolution of the RDA, so we've set that aside separately already. PD, the huge increase that you see for PD, as Steve mentioned, we are moving 2 police officers out of Measure K back into the general fund. We have added a dispatch position. We are also budgeted to purchase 2 police vehicles that will replace cars with excessive mileage. And then finally, body cameras that the officers will wear on themselves to help with crime. And the chief talked about it a little bit last time, and I know we are trying to go out for a grant for that has a matching requirement, so it might not cost the general fund as much as originally planned if we are awarded that grant.
Do we have a date of purchase or any kind of estimation when that's going to happen?
Ray, do you know when they even announced the grant? The grant wasn't even due until yesterday, and so right now we're not quite sure. I think it will depend on whether or not we get the grant.
We applied for it, and it was due yesterday, but we haven't heard anything since the application.
Okay, thank you.
Sonia, can you talk just a little bit about the 4 recruits?
Go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit just also about the 4 recruits that are at the academy?
Okay, and so we do have police trainee positions. That's what we've been doing. Instead of recruiting for police officers, because we're having such a difficult time finding police officers, we've decided to put recruits through the academy. So we do have 4 recruits currently in the academy. 3 were previous employees with the City of Las Banos. They actually worked in the CSO position. The chief did introduce them at the last meeting. The 4th one is actually a brother of a current employee who's a really good employee, so we're very optimistic. They started the academy last week. I believe it was June 9th, and so I heard they're working hard, and it's pretty tough.
Thank you.
Moving on to fire, we have added this was not included in the budget workshop because we had not had our Measure P meeting. So we went to the Measure P committee, asked them if it was okay to add a position to the Measure P budget. Half of the position will be paid out of Measure P. The other half of the position will be paid out of the general fund. This does eliminate the part-time position that was paid out of Measure P. So essentially, we're gaining half a body instead of a full body. In addition to that, we increased fire's community promotions to purchase fire safety educational material, which was previously funded through a grant, which we did not receive this year. And then we increased facility maintenance to replace rusted doors, leaks, and install a security fence around the communication tower. And then finally, we increased special departmental expenses to replace equipment, chainsaws, gloves, helmets, hoses, etc. Moving on to the next slide, we have the same overall increases affect these benefits, salary and steps, and property insurance. Under maintenance, we did add a full-time position to streets, as I previously mentioned, and there were no other major changes to the general fund departments. We have a total increase in expenditures of $1.2 million for the next fiscal year. Our general fund operating reserve, we are anticipating a surplus of $306,471 for fiscal year 15-16. This will bring our year-end fund balance to $7.9 million. This amount is well above the 30% mandate that the city put in place. Staff will continue, as we do every year, to review budget sources and bring any necessary changes or updates to council. Okay, so that concludes general fund. If nobody has any questions regarding general fund, I'll move on to the other departments.
Any questions?
No? Okay.
Okay.
Measure P.
Hold it. We have a question. There we go.
Yes, could you just touch a little bit on the code enforcement to indicate the increase in that budget and what it's for?
Okay, so let me go back to where is my code enforcement. Here we are. Code enforcement, we have a little bit of an increase, but all that's for is normal costs, which would be a salary increase if anybody's entitled to a step increase, or benefits as well. We didn't have any huge increases. The reason why it's so minimal, actually, is because we did have a position vacate. That position was paid out at top step, and the new person that came in got a lower salary than that. So it's actually a little bit less than it was originally.
And Brittany Rogers, our newest code enforcement officer, started 2 weeks ago? Two and a half weeks ago. I checked with Sergeant Seha, who's been, she's been shadowing him a little bit, and he told me that she's doing a fantastic job. I had a chance to meet her a couple times. Very comfortable with her. I think she's going to do a great job. So,
Mr. Freya.
Just a comment on the general fund. For the public realizes, at the peak of the economy years ago, it was over 14 million, dropped all the way to 9 million, and now we're back up to 12 million. But we still haven't climbed out to where we were, 7-8 years ago. Right. So we're getting there. We're crawling out of the hole.
When I started, we were at 6.3 million. I remember that number. It's cemented in my brain. And yes, we're at 7.9, and that number has come up, and people think, wow, we're rich again, and we're not. We're getting healthier. I'll be giving a presentation on July 1st about this industrial park, this airport, the police, this new police station that we're looking at, and also this medical complex hospital. There's going to, there's some big projects that we're working on, and we're going to talk about how do you pay for some of these, and there's financing options, there's a signed budget that we've talked about a little bit, but I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to need a little bit of that 7.9 to get kind of seed money to get these projects going. So when anyone brings up that figure and says, wow, you're sitting on 7.9 million, I know Sonia stops and talks to him, I stop and talk to him and say, hold on a second, let's go back 6 or 7 years and look at what it was, and yeah, it's getting better, but we're by no means near 14 million.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Thanks.
Sonia, are we going to, I know at one time we had talked about an additional code enforcement officer, and will we be applying or have a chance to apply for that grant again?
We applied for it, and again, Stacy, you want to take a swing at this one, but I know we'll hear about it in August.
Yeah,
and
it's about,
we applied for 300,000.
Yes, we did.
Thank you.
So July, August-ish, we should find out. It's CDBG funding from the state. Yes.
Okay.
We're hoping to use that funding to get a code enforcement officer to work Wednesdays through Sundays, attack yard sales, weekend stuff, and really have 7 days a week service. But this is the second time or the third time we've applied? Second time. So we're 0 for 1. So
if we're awarded the grant, what we'll have to do is go out for an RFP, and this will be a contract employee because of the restrictions on how we can spend the money. So hopefully we find out sooner rather than later, and if we do receive it, I'm sure Stacy's working on the RFP, but we'll bring it back to council for a budget adjustment.
Well, I hope that'd be a joy to bring back. Okay, thank you. Okay, continue.
Okay.
Oh, Mr. Lewis?
We had discussed about another code enforcement officer's position that we were applying for that would be designated for a certain area within our city. Is that different from the CDBG?
No, that's the
Here you go.
That's this one.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's one.
Okay, we good?
As previously mentioned, we have moved to police positions back into the general fund from Measure K. That leaves us 2 police positions and 1 fire position in Measure K, which expires in 2021. The fund balance for police this year will increase by $293,540 because of the reduction. The other half of the admin clerk for fire will be paid from Measure P. The fund balance for fire will decrease by $18,411. This is due in part to costs associated with replacing mobile terminals that have exceeded their lifespan. Movement of staff, as we mentioned before, we'll evaluate it every 6 months to see if we can move any bodies back in, and staff will do it only when they feel that the general fund can absorb the cost on a continuous basis. We obviously don't want to move it back and forth. So moving on to the enterprise funds. Overall, the enterprise funds remain healthy. This is due in part to the annual increases that we put in place back in 2011. Overall increases, again, include salary and benefits, as well as increases to infrastructure. The increase of $1.2 million over the prior year includes increases to wells for testing, as well as increases for the Water Master Improvement Plan. And specific projects are listed in your budget on page 196. Expenditures for the wastewater collection and treatment are $5.6 million. This is an increase of $1.6 million from the previous year. Such projects include a sewer trunk line, replacement of manholes, replacement of pump stations, and again, details can be found on page 201 and 206 of the budget. And this year's expenditures for solid waste are $7.2 million. The increases here include specialized equipment, including a leaf section machine and a hook lift truck and a forklift. And then finally, our last increase, when we went out for Prop 218 in 2011, it was for 5 years. Our final increase for that prop will be effective July 1st, 2015. Moving on to the Internal Service Fund, there are 3 internal services. These funds are used to report activity that provides goods and services to the other department. These funds are charged out to all other funds. They include fleet maintenance, information technology, and retiree medical health. The IT annual budget is $446,495. He is going to be replacing computer equipment this year, about 27 computers that still have XP, which is no longer supported by Microsoft. And then we will also be purchasing 4 new firewalls to replace obsolete network security in locations such as fire and public work facilities. And health for retiree costs is approximately $1.2 million annually, and these costs are to fund retiree benefits and OPEB. And I didn't mention fleet maintenance annual budget is $902,844, and there were no major changes for this year. And then finally, with the approval of the budget, we're also asking to approve the salary schedule. And we did go over these changes in the budget workshop, but I'd like to again mention what the adjustments were that are made to the salary schedule. It does begin with increasing all miscellaneous employees and department head employees that were considered under market by the compensation study that was performed by 2%. We did add a senior planner position to the Community and Economic Development Department. This position does not change the number of authorized employees, but it does allow for promotions based on skill level. Public Works Department, we are funding an unfunded maintenance worker position in the Streets Department, which will be effective July 16th. As mentioned before, Police, we are adding a dispatch position. And in Fire, we added a full-time administrative clerk position, which was approved by the Measure P committee on May 27th. And then for the part-time portion of the salary schedule, we increased minimum wage from $9, to $10. This is supposed to be effective January 2016, but we are increasing it effective July 1st. We are also reclassifying different positions to streamline recruiting. And then finally, we are adding a part-time CSO to the salary schedule. The CSO will be used to man the animal shelter, so they could have regular hours. And that concludes my presentation. I'm asking you to conduct the public hearing and adopt a resolution approving the 15-16 fiscal year budget as submitted, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
We are still understaffed in community and economic development, am I correct, with what we had previously? And so there's been a savings of over $250,000 there at least.
It's been back and forth. We had 3 people. We eliminated 1 due to layoffs, and then we lost 1.
Yes.
In a resignation, and when we did that, we actually froze the department head position.
Correct.
And then added another position back in. So we are kind of low, but that is a 100% impact on the general fund.
Correct. And to date, we've probably saved between $250,000 or more in money just on the savings being down that 1 employee.
I'd have to do the calculation to see what it is, but because we don't have a department head, we do rely on other resources.
Correct.
Outside resources that maybe generally we wouldn't rely on.
Okay.
But because we replaced the department head with a lower level position, there is a savings there, but I don't know the figure off the top of my head. I can find out for you if you'd like.
You know, I remember the numbers from years ago. It's pretty good. And as our people become even more versed in what's going on, then we have to rely less on outside services.
That's correct.
And so the number is the savings, and that's the nice part with consistency and a continuum with the employees.
Mayor, I have a comment.
Yes.
That I'd like to make. And it's kind of in line with what you're saying. You know, about 1.5 years ago, we made some changes in community development, and we changed the name to Community and Economic Development because I wanted it to reflect jobs and all that. And at the time, it was just Stacy Souza Elms, and I went to her, and I didn't know her that well, and I said, it's going to be you and me. We're going to do this for a while. And I sat down with her, and I said, the first thing I said to her, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I said, I want to propose a 2,000-acre industrial park on the west side that's in the county, and please don't laugh at me. And I'm not sure if she did or not, but I know inside she was laughing really hard at me. And I asked her to go get her degree. I asked her to, leave her little girl at home and go get her degree because she was going to need it. Brian, who was a volunteer at the fire department, had to give that up so he could spend time with Vivian while she went to school. Her parents stepped in and filled the remaining void. But where I'm going with this whole thing is I challenged her. We're shorthanded. We're still shorthanded, but we're accomplishing a lot. Yes, it'd be great to have extra bodies, but we're not quite there yet with development in Los Banos. I'd love to see more retail where it's almost non-existent. We're getting a little bit here and there. The housing's picking up. My problem with the housing is the price per square foot that we're selling houses at. I think it's back to where we were 5 years ago. It shouldn't be where it's at. So I got some problems with that. But where I'm going right now is that what you see is a senior planner position in the budget, and it's to promote Stacy from assistant to senior. And this time next year, we're just going to keep doing this. And next year, I could see her being director. And quite honestly, and I told her this, and because we spend a lot of time together, but if you want to see the future of Los Banos, it's sitting right there. She can be city manager someday. It might not be for 10 years or 12 years or down the road, but if there's one person in this room that you need to keep your eye on, it's Stacy Souza Elms, because she's got history here, her family's from here, she bleeds Los Banos, she's smart, she's responded to every challenge I put at her, and if anything, everything I throw at her, she throws back at me harder. So I actually rely on her. Don't tell her I said that. But I just it's important that I say this to you publicly because we talked about this privately. We've talked about it, in my office and in your office. But it's important that I say it publicly. You work very hard, and I know we have 145 employees. I think we're even higher than that now. But I'm pointing you out. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. Okay. And so yes, we're a little shorthanded. We're responding to it, and I'm really hoping that in the next year or two we can come back and say, yeah, we need some more workers. So she doesn't have to do as much of the work. She can do more of the global work. She can be more of the big picture person. But right now, she answers people that come to the counter. She sits with the biggest developers in Merced County. She sits with any business that walks in and has a question. I mean, she does everything. So I'm very proud of you. Keep doing exactly what you're doing. All right. Thank you.
And my comment was centered around frugal resources. So
I've been waiting to say that for a while, if you can't tell.
Okay.
So.
All right. Now, are there any other questions? Sonia's finished her presentation. Do we have any questions at council level before I open up the public hearing? All right, at this time, I'd like to open the public hearing for anyone who would like to speak on item D1, City Council Resolution number 5667, as read by title.
I really don't want to speak. I just have a question. I'm looking at your City of Los Banos animal control, and it has 0 proposed all across it, but yet in 12 to 13, it was $96,000. I don't know, the Los Banos Animal Shelter? What? Oh, 108, sorry. Am I reading the wrong thing? I'm just looking for...
What happened was...
There you go.
What happened was, back in 2012-13, the Animal Control Department was its own division, and then the next year we combined it with code enforcement. So you see 000, we have to keep it there for the history of it because the number of years that we do, but anything that has to do with animal control is now included in code enforcement.
And that's where the Los Banos Animal Shelter is? So the funds that they receive, what page would I look at on that?
Code enforcement is on page 106. So the part-time employee, it is, like I said, it is combined with...
The CSO that you were going to go there.
The CSO is under part-time there, and then we do have 2 code enforcement officers, a clerk, and the sergeant actually gets paid out of PD General Fund. But this takes into account not only the code enforcement throughout the city, but animal control as well.
Okay, which I can see now. I just didn't know where to look.
Okay.
Because it does have the spay and neuter program, special program, so your animal shelter, okay. That's all I wanted to know. Thank
Well,
you.
it's better you bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Not seeing or hearing anyone, I will now close the public hearing, bring it back to council level. Council members, are there any final questions on the item City Council Resolution number 5667 before we vote? Okay, do I have a motion? Mr. Silvera?
It's not a motion just yet, Mayor.
Okay.
But I just could offer a few comments. I think that, we're heading in the right direction. We're making incremental changes. And I'm comfortable with the cautious approach because we don't know what this water situation truly is going to do to us. Just around here, today I got the email that, I'm fortunate to farm in what I consider 2 of the best water districts in the state of California, in CCID and San Luis Canal Company. We have senior water rights that date back to the 1870s. And we're going to get cut. Now, what that means yet to us out here in the real world, I don't know, because in my opinion, the State Water Resource Board makes their decisions in a vacuum, and they don't put any real world implications of what that's going to cause to the people out here down on the ground. So just in my little operation, that scares me, and I know it scares all of my neighbors that are farmers that have just millions of dollars invested into crops that they put into the ground based on information that they got from the State Water Resource Board a couple months ago, who've now decided, in my opinion, again, that their thermometers that they were using to measure water temperature up in Shasta Dam were not calibrated correctly. And so the numbers that all their scientists and all their smart people they had in the room were using to come up with this temperature monitoring program is basically all null and void. And so it's really, it's an interesting time out there. And so to bring it back to the discussion here, I appreciate the cautious approach because I don't know what it's going to bring. I know I see a few houses being built here. This community, I still believe, is heavily reliant on ag. So I like the approach. And I think as money becomes available, nothing's guaranteed, but steady money. I don't want to offer something today that we can't live with 6 months from now, a year from now. Hopefully we're on a curve that just keeps going up and not a curve that's up and down. And so there's probably going to be some folks, as Steve mentioned earlier, maybe they're not happy with exactly what we're doing, but I have no other way to say that. I would just rather that maybe you're a little upset with me today, but I don't offer you something, or we don't offer you something that we, promise you something that we can't keep the promise. So, I appreciate all the employees and what they do. The finance staff they've worked diligently on this budget, and the budget isn't just put together in a week or 2 weeks or a month. It's quite a while. I still have some areas that I want to see, see some growth in, but we got to go down this road slowly. So kudos to all the staff on the work that they did, and whoever coined the phrase, I'll say it again, is we're healthy, we're not wealthy. So I like where we're heading. It definitely, Mr. Freya stated earlier, our general fund budgets were a lot more than this before I got on council, and I came in and we were way down in the gutter. And every year some years we really didn't increase much, other than health insurance costs went up. It was internal costs, if you will, that caused our numbers to go up. But I'm excited to see that we're adding a few positions, funding a few. I'm happy for the animal control and the animal shelter, that we're going to have a part-timer out there that can help them with some of the stuff that they need help with. So we're going to get there, but we just have to go down this road slowly. I don't want to make promises we can't keep. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Well, one more comment. I can remember, Mr. Freya will remember this. I remember right after the two of us were on council, we received this, was it the white paper, Tom? And the white paper started to talk about that we were spending $140,000, is it 140? A month more than what we were taking in. And all of a sudden, 2 new council members, and all of a sudden, in 2007, the budget just started to just go down and down and down, and that was 8 years ago. And now, through good money management, we are back in the chips somewhat again, but the chips are not totally there, as Mr. Silvera said. But we can remember when things were really in the negative per month of what the city was spending, and it was kind of disheartening to hear that. And so then we had to make some changes then, and now we're doing pretty well, but we still have to watch it. And I think with continued good money management, as the way this budget is laid out, we will do okay. But it's tough to be the mayor that has to say no to a lot of things, and city council members that have to say no to a lot of things. But this is our budget time, and I think if we hadn't made some of these decisions, we would have to ask you for many more increases in what you're paying right now to keep your city going. If you want to see people complain, just see that there's no water and the wrong stuff doesn't flow downhill. And when those two things happen, you haven't heard anything yet but complaining. So that hasn't happened. It's not going to happen. And we're going to keep our city running well. But sometimes, in order to keep it running well, it takes some sacrifices, and it's not flashy right now. So if anyone comes up to you and say, well, we can do this and we can do that and we can open up the floodgates in our budget, have them come and talk to the 5 people up here, and have them come to this podium. So when there is money for things, we're going to give it out. But until that time, we're going to make sure that we have a healthy budget and keep the costs down for our citizens. So I think those are the 2 primary issues that we have, and as elected officials, we need to do that. So with that, Mr. Freya, comment or motion?
Both.
Okay.
First, I want to let the public know that a government budget is like a turbocharged engine. You have turbo lag. So when you press on the accelerator, that's like the economy is spinning up. But it takes a while for the turbo to spin up, which means that the tax revenue has to go through the state and then get kicked back to the city. That can be anywhere from 6 months to a year, recovering economy. So we're always about 6 months to a year behind the recovering economy in our own income. And so if things go the way they're going, we're going to be looking really good in a year or two, especially because we're planning and mapping out and doing a beautiful job with this budget. I want to once again commend our finance department. You guys are fantastic. And the diligence and the care and the concern with which you do this job is very much appreciated by the council, by the citizens, and by the employees. And we must make sure that we express that to you because, you're the ones that without money, we can't do anything. And you're the ones that control it and keep track of it and let us know what we can do, what we can't do. And we appreciate that very much. And you've done a beautiful job. And so with that, I'd like to move to adopt City Council Resolution number 5667, adopting the 2015-16 fiscal year budget, including employee salary schedule, Division 4, Los Banos Policy and Procedures Manual.
Mrs. Lewis?
With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to second the motion, and I'd also like to state that I truly appreciate the conservative manner in which our staff oversees our budget and makes recommendation to this council for approval. We couldn't do it without them, and the forecasting that they look at with monies that are coming in from the state, coming in from our county tax dollars, and the grants that we apply for. We just wouldn't be able to function, and none of us know what tomorrow holds. It could be up today and up next year, and then hit bottom again the year after. So, being conscious and fiscally sound and conservative has helped this city maintain the position that it's in now without going into the red. So, with that, again, I'd like to make a second to that motion.
Okay, it's been motioned by Freya, second by Lewis, to approve City Council Resolution number 5667, read by title. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? None. Carried. Okay, let's go on to item number 9, consideration of introduction of ordinance number 1131, reorganizing Title II, Chapter 1 of the Los Banos Municipal Code and renumbering the article and section numbers for ordinance number 1123 for codification purposes. Okay, and we will go to City Attorney Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. This is essentially a cleanup ordinance to ordinance number 1123. If you recall, back in November of last year, the voters approved by a majority to establish elections of city council persons by district. That ordinance just made its way to the printer for codification. Once the ordinance is adopted, either by vote of the people or by the city council, the ordinance itself gets put into this book right here to my right. And in doing that, the printer noticed that some of the section numbers in ordinance 1123 did not match our code, and that in fact it had designated that 1123 as Article 2 of Title 2 of Chapter 1 of our code. Unfortunately, there already is an Article 2. So we can't have two Article 2s, and we can't have an ordinance with the same numbers as other codes within our municipal code. So the solution to that is to reorganize that title, which is Title 2, Chapter 1 of our municipal code. And there are currently 3 articles in that title. And so what we've done is renumbered all 3. The code sections in ordinance number 1123 will be first, and the existing articles will then take their places as Article 2 and Article 3. So all this doesn't change any of the verbiage or substantive portions of the ordinance 1123 just simply renumbers them so that we have a coherent code book. And so that is exactly what the current ordinance is doing. And so we would ask that you waive the first reading of this ordinance. I don't know what the number is. 1131. Waive the first reading and introduce ordinance number 1131. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Okay. Council members, do you have any questions? Oh, sorry. Council members, do you have any questions? Okay. Do I have someone who would like to waive the first reading and the introduction of ordinance 1131? Mr. Silvera.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to waive the first reading of ordinance number 1131 as stated by title.
Okay. Mrs. Stonegrove.
Second.
Okay, it's been motioned by Silvera, second by Stonegrove, to waive the first reading of ordinance number 1131. All in favor? Aye. Mr. Silvera?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance number 1131 as stated by title.
Stonegrove?
Second.
Okay, motion by Silvera for the introduction of 1131 and second by Stonegrove. Director Maloney, roll call vote, please.
Faria?
Yes.
Lewis? Yes. Silvera?
Yes.
Stonegrove?
Yes.
Volta?
Yes. Okay. Let's go on to item number 10, advisement of public notices, and tonight we have two reports.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. So the first item is a conditional use permit 2015-07. It's for China No. 1 Buffet. They're located at 1313 East Pacheco Boulevard, Suite A. They're an existing business. They've been there since in operation since 2006, and they're now requesting a Type 41 alcohol license for the on-sale of beer and wine. And then the second conditional use permit is 2015-06. It is for an increase in maximum display area for a freestanding sign located at 1415 Badger Flat Road. The applicant is Dr. Boz, Asthma Sinus Center. He's going to be locating here in Los Banos. And in order to occupy that particular building, which is the old Harley-Davidson building. He would like additional signage because the Denny's building is in his way for visibility on Pacheco. So those items will be discussed at the Planning Commission on Wednesday, June 24th at 7 p.m. here in the chambers.
So that's another vacant building will be occupied?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, any questions about item 10 for Director Elms? Right, let's go on to item 11, City Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two items. I'd like to thank the finance staff, Rosemary, Kim. Martha, I can never see you. I know you're there, but from my angle, I just get the tip of your head there.
You got to hire a chair.
Just something, because I keep forgetting her when I say my thank yous. And Sonia, I mean, I rely on you. You delivered again. Thank you, all of you. I see you every day, and I know you guys work really hard, so outstanding job. And the second thing I have is with Father's Day coming up on Sunday, I just want to wish all the new dads a happy Father's Day, because that first one's the best. And Elizabeth, I know your husband's going to really have a good time. So that's all I have.
Okay. Before we go on to City Council member reports, if it's okay with Council, I'd like Chief Marison to come forward and talk to us a little bit about fireworks and how not to.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, yesterday we met with all 7 of our safe and sane fireworks vendors and went over and emphasized the laws, rules, and regulations pertaining to safe and sane fireworks that will begin sales on June 28th. Just keep in mind you cannot actually use the safe and sane fireworks until July 1st through the 4th. So you can purchase them on the 28th, but don't use them until July 1st, or you will receive a citation for using them outside of the dates.
And how much is that citation?
That one actually is a relatively simple one. It's a $50 citation for safe and sane.
Okay.
The dangerous and illegal fireworks are the ones that I really want to talk to you about tonight and get the message out to the public. police department's already been enforcing the ordinance pertaining to a $1,250 violation per device that is confiscated or found to be used. They brought some inventory to me yesterday that they had written citations for over the weekend. The key thing to remember is that a Safe and Sane firework has a seal on the package. Rick has brought it up on the overhead for you. It says Safe and Sane right on it. It is a state fire marshal seal. If the device that you have has that seal on it, then it is a legal device to use in the city of Los Banos between July 1st and July 4th. Anything else that does not have that seal is considered a dangerous firework, and it is subject to a $1,250 citation. Another way to understand it is if it explodes or it leaves the ground, it is considered a dangerous firework. So if you see those in your neighborhood, anytime, 365 days a year, please call the police department. They will take action. They will issue citations on that. 4th of July, we'll have, again, saturation patrol between the police department, code enforcement, and the fire department. Our goal isn't to issue 50 citations, but if we have to, we will. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
And I remember a couple of years ago, someone altered a Safe and Sane fireworks.
Last year.
And it caused, last year, and it caused a fire.
Yeah.
And luckily it was extinguished by the fire department pretty quickly. But if you alter a Safe and Sane fireworks, that's subject to the $1,250.
Yeah, actually, it's subject to a lot more than that.
Oh, okay.
State regulations prevent you from doing that also. They altered a device that exploded, caught some vegetation on fire next to a building, proceeded into the attic of a 2-story apartment complex, turned into a second alarm fire for us. That person was arrested and convicted. I will add, please, if you are experiencing that your neighbors have dry vegetation in their backyards and we cannot see it from the street or it is a fire hazard, please call us. We've been very aggressive on our fire prevention to assure that we don't experience grass fires because of dangerous or even Safe and Sane fireworks. We do a very good job at what we can see, but it's the backyards and the concealed areas that we have no idea are a problem. We just had somebody come in today with pictures, address, and it turns out we had already sent a notice to it. But please report those to us as soon as possible. There is a 10-day period for issuing notices before we can go in and abate that. So as soon as possible, get a hold of us.
I talked to Gene Lieb today from the Enterprise, and on Monday, you, Chief Breezy, and I will be meeting with Corey Pride to put a story together for Friday the 26th on this very subject matter. So there will be an article in the paper kind of bringing everybody up to speed on what the rules are, what the costs are, and what you can and can't do. So we'll be doing that on Monday. I'll let you know when and where. Thank you.
I mean, this is extreme fire danger. I mean, of all the years that we've had fireworks in this community, it is extreme fire danger this year. And please, public, if you see someone that's shooting off these illegal fireworks, you've got to call, because the home you save may be your own, to coin a phrase.
Yeah, there's been some pretty aggressive measures throughout the state of California to prevent fires this year. Actually, day before yesterday, the counties of Mariposa, Merced, and Madera actually banned smoking on state properties because of the fire hazard that everybody is experiencing right now. So unprecedented dry year, humidities are way down, temperatures are now up. We had a fire last week on 2nd Street that had unbelievable intensity because of the dry vegetation in the backyard, abandoned home, got into the attic, tremendous amount of resources committed to a single-family dwelling fire because of illegal activity. That person was also arrested, placed in custody, is awaiting a hearing now. So, any other questions?
Any other questions from council at this time? Okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Okay. Oh, Mrs. Lewis. Well, we'll get to hear once more from you too, because the next meeting's on July 1st.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes,
I'll bring a poster.
Okay.
Chief Marison, for the booths that are going to be out selling the Safe and Sane fireworks, is it posted somewhere visibly in bold that the fireworks cannot be
Altered?
Well, not altered, but used until the 1st through the 4th?
Yeah. We do a number of things. First, the IT department and the police department has helped us in printing some very large posters that go on the Safe and Sane booths to talk about our ordinance regarding illegal and dangerous fireworks. So we do that. Within every bag that somebody purchases a Safe and Sane firework, there is a flyer that goes in there in Spanish and in English explaining all the rules and regulations about how to use them, the violations, all the things that we talked about tonight. It goes into every bag. Fire department provides that. We do inspections in the morning, in the evening, and every day when they open and close the booths to answer questions, make sure it's done safely. And we provide those flyers to every booth every day to make sure that...
And I can vouch for that, because we work in the Rotary booth, and those flyers are given out.
Yep.
Okay.
And the other question is there any way of detecting whether or not a Safe and Sane seal has been forged and put on fireworks?
I have never experienced that. I will tell you what we experienced today, though. No, I have not experienced that. I don't think anybody would go through that extent. Illegal and dangerous firework, no matter, it leaves the ground, it explodes in most cases. Safe and Sane don't do that. So it's pretty easy to identify them by looking at them. But I will share something with you. Today, we received a complaint from a citizen, and I appreciate this, what they did for us, that there was possibly fireworks being sold at one of our local retail stores. So we investigated it this morning. We discovered that, in fact, there was what can be conceived as Safe and Sane fireworks, which were once called sparklers. They're illegal now in California, on their shelves. We went in, we seized those. I won't tell you what the citation or what the business is. It was an honest mistake. It's a national chain store that received this in stock today, put it on their shelves. Luckily, a citizen reported it to us. We pulled it off the shelves. We spread it out to the entire county because everybody in the county has one of these businesses. That box did not have a Safe and Sane sticker on it. So in realistic terms, it could be a $1,200 per device citation that we issue that store. I think it's a true failure on their chain to have done that, and so we're working with them to make sure that we don't issue them a $50,000 ticket because it's per device. Wow. So we're not going to go that extreme, but we are serious about this, and that tells you how serious we are. The rest of the county is investigating their stores and their jurisdictions to make sure that they don't have the same problem.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. City Manager Kerrigan, so we can stay within bounds, can I have a placeholder for this in the next meeting, just to have Tim come back, and then that way we can talk a little bit more?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Is that okay, Tim? Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go on to City Council member reports, and tonight we'll start with Mr. Faria.
Start with the segue with the fire. Please be very, very careful. Terrible fire season. And we had just enough rain last fall to start an awful lot of grass. And so while out in the wilderness, a couple of years ago, we didn't have as much grass. There was no rain at all. We had rain in the fall, so there's a lot of wild oats, a lot of wild grass out there, and it goes up very, very fast. And so please be careful. And when I was a kid, we always used to carry a can of water. I had a bunch of smoking. I had a father and uncle who smoked, and they always carried a can of water, and that's where those cigarettes always went. And so very, very careful, once again, fire season and with fireworks coming on. The other day we had Flag Day here, a ceremony, and the Boy Scouts and the Elks and American Legion and Americans Foreign Wars did a beautiful job with that historical presentation. And then next, today is anniversary of our engagement. Bertha and I got engaged 32 years ago today. Don't forget that date. Don't forget any of those dates. It's wise not to.
And she still likes you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still married, too.
All right, good.
And a happy Father's Day to all the fathers, new fathers, and also to fathers-to-be, as my son-in-law is. Jason and Ariana will be We're expecting a new grandchild in September or October. Father's Day weekend, we have Father's Day in the park. Saturday, you're going to have a lot of breakfast in the morning, and food and drink. And then there'll be music starting at 11, Shea Mejia Gomes. And then at 12 is Fur Drive, Vanessa Lovato with Kyle Chapman and their band. I don't know all the members in that band. And then Debbie Lozado and I and Kyle and Dr. Don Carter and Patrick Gomes will be playing a history of a tribute this time to women of rock. So we'll be doing Fleetwood Mac and Heart tunes, and it's going to be a lot of fun. As I've said before, if you haven't heard Debbie sing, come on out. You'll really enjoy it. She's very, very good. She's outstanding. This weekend, the Valkyrie, Los Banos Arts has a new Valkyrie Theater program, and it's Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. They're having their Los Banos Review show, lots of Los Banos talent there, $10, $5 for seniors and students. And Friday also is our courthouse groundbreaking, 10:30. I sat as pro tem on that, and I'm pro tem again when it's getting built, so it feels like a nice little circle coming around. Between $26, $27 million project coming to Los Banos, courtesy of the state of California. It's not costing our city anything. It's going to be a great addition to our city. It's a beautiful complex, beautiful design out there at G and Mercy Springs. So we're looking forward to that coming to our town, and we're appreciative that the state did not cut that from the budget. Finally, everyone have a wonderful Father's Day weekend, and thank you.
And thank you I will not be able to make that, so thank you for representing the city. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go on to Mrs. Lewis.
First, I'd like to wish every father out there a happy Father's Day this coming Sunday. It is a very great honor and a great responsibility to be a father, to watch over your children and to raise them and nurture them. So to all the fathers, happy Father's Day. And I'd also just like to make a comment about our staff, our financial staff, the wonderful job that you do for us again, and especially to Stacy for the time that you took away from your family to continue your education and to get the degree that you have. I know one day I think Stacy will be our planning director and economic development director. The other thing I'd like to say is that our city manager has been very encouraging to our staff to continue and go forward and get a further education in college. So hats off to you, Steve, for doing that. That means that our staff that we have on board and staff that we'll be hiring in the future, we're bringing a higher level person into our city to help us run this wonderful place that we live in. So congratulations to you, Stacy, and thank you for the hard work that you do, because it's a big burden on your shoulder and you're doing a wonderful job. And last but not least, I forgot my hand this evening. It's a big yellow and blue hand that says Warriors. And so I want to congratulate the Golden State Warriors on their wonderful win and getting that championship that was 40 years in the making. These young men are, from what I can tell and all the information that I've heard on TV, are really wonderful young men, and this was deserving of them. They worked hard for this throughout the season, and I know this has nothing to do with the city, but I'm a Warrior fan, and I'm really proud of these young men as if they were my own sons. So go Warriors. And thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Your cable, did you get to see the game, Mike?
I did. Yes, I did.
Uh-huh.
I did, and I was on the telephone to my cable company because just before the game, 2 hours before the game was to start, the cable went out.
Yeah.
And it came back on right at the time the game started. So believe me, I was ready to hit
Lucky
the roof.
for the cable company,
Yeah,
they got it back
absolutely.
on. Okay, let's go on to Mr. Silvera.
Yes, a couple things. One, I mentioned earlier, but thank you again to our finance staff and the job that they do. I want to wish everybody a happy Father's Day as well. Be safe. It's going to be a warm one. And then, let's see, the day that they had when Flag Day ceremonies were here, I had left. I got invited to go over to Memorial Hospital, and they had an open house. They were showing off their brand new digital mammography machine. So they're pretty excited about having it here. Michelle Marquise and Dr. Gokley are doing a wonderful job over there, and I actually got to take a tour of the machine. I got to go into the room where the radiologist reads the results, and so something that used to take them half an hour from when you walked in the door till they actually had the images that were the old cartridge style, had to put it in, have it develop, pull it out, and the radiologist actually had to look at the machine or look at the film. Now, in probably 15-20 minutes from when you walk in the door, they have your results. They've already been traveled halfway across the country and back, and it's pretty neat. It's a pretty neat deal there. They did run into some, I know maybe 2 or 3 years ago at their annual gala, they were raising money, and they actually had the money for the machine at least 8-10 months ago, but they ran into some problems. They spent just as much money on having to remodel the room that they put it in, because they fall under a whole bunch of rules that hospitals are governed by, and to make, they basically had to make this machine fit in this room, and they had to widen doorways and raise this and move that, and it was it's really cool because it's a modern piece of technology that the citizens, I know there's other places, there's one other place in town, but now you have options, and to me, competition is a good thing. So thank them for the good work that they're doing. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Stonegrove.
Thank you. I want to take the opportunity to thank the Finance Department for putting the budget together. Sonia and Martha, Kim and Rosemary, and everyone that worked on it. I know it takes a lot of time and effort, and it is nice to be coming out of this recession slowly, but a lot nicer than budgets that we were dealing with a few years back. So thank you for your hard work. And I'd also like to wish everyone, fathers, new and old, a happy Father's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. I kind of wish we could split ourselves in half, because the same day of the mammography, we had the flag raising, or the flag ceremony, and some of us attended that. Some of us, I'm glad there were representatives at all the events. So that's good. The flag ceremony every year, the Elks do a wonderful job, and it was just it was really nice to see the tradition continue. The budget. I think we've all spoken. I don't want to continue to just say other than we're very pleased that our city is doing as well as it is, and it's going to get better. And through this team and through the money management, the current fiscal team that we have for the city, it's only going to get better. They shored up a lot of things, and now there's just minimal when it comes to the amount of money that shouldn't have been spent, that now that is spent in the right direction. And thanks to everyone in the city who has done this. It's just a pleasant way to come to a meeting and not have your head down and say that you don't have the money to do some of these things. So again, thank you to the management team of Los Banos, City of Los Banos for what they've done. The what else do we have here? Disposal of hazardous waste. Eric, check with the MCAG too, because I know they were planning some kind of event. Okay, and see what they can do, and if we can host that. But we have to work with the fire department and Mark Fachin to make sure that if it is hosted in town, that we can do that. Okay. Also, I don't want to talk long because I won't be able to. All of you who have sent in the cards, the letters, the donations are still coming in in memory of my dad. it's Father's Day, and I don't care how old you are, it's tough to lose a parent, but he had a good long life, and it was a fitting tribute to him. So thank you for all the remembrances, and believe me, I will get to you to thank you personally, and my sister and I are working on that, but there's just so many that came in that we were just overwhelmed, and just absolutely, I can't believe what a legacy this man left, and thank you. So with that, I would like to go to closed session, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, agency designated representatives, City Manager Kerrigan, City Attorney Vaughn, City Clerk, Human Resources Director Melanie, Finance Director Williams, Legal Counsel Tufo, employee organizations, Los Banos Police Officers Association, LBPOA, Los Banos Police Sergeants Association, LBPSA, Los Banos Police Dispatchers Community Services Officers Association, LBPD CSOA, Los Banos Firefighters Association, LBFFA, and unrepresentative miscellaneous employees. And we will be in closed session. If we have anything to report, I will do so after we return from closed session. Thank you for attending.